In high seas or calm, both opportunity and risk lurk just below the surface. Answers require in-depth analysis. Welcome to BlackFin Group's Shark Cage podcast, where experts dip below the surface of important industry issues in search of hidden opportunities.
All right, good day, folks, and welcome to the Shark Cage BlackFin's podcast series. My name is Kemph, President and CEO at BlackFin. I will be your host today. To start, I want to thank our sponsors. First, a special shout out to all of BlackFin's preferred partners: LoanPass, MortgageFlex, Constellation Mortgage Solutions, IE Mergent, Flowify, and Cloudvirga, and so many more, and all the great things that they do in the industry. If you're not aware of them, I encourage you to make sure to reach out to them or reach out to us to learn more about them. They're doing some great things in our industry. Second, I'm going to do a shameless plug for BlackFin. We are the industry's best resource for everything and anything you need to know or need in mortgage banking. Folks, nobody in the industry knows more about mortgage technology or has better expert resources than BlackFin. And it's all because of our deeply entrenched and really trusted relationships in mortgage banking over the last 30 years. Okay, so let's get started here. Today, I am really excited to have in the Shark Cage one of BlackFin's preferred partners, Maria Moskver, the CEO of Cloudvirga. Now, before we get into the discussion today around point of sale platforms, and having Maria really help set us straight on all these amazing platform options and make sense of where the point of sale market is, let me formally introduce Maria by sharing a little about her background. Maria was tapped back in 2022 by Stewart Information Services to be CEO of Cloudvirga to lead really the strategic growth of building the new preeminent digital mortgage automation company in the point of sale space, and be responsible for technology investments and new products and brand awareness and enhancing the Stewart customer experience with end-to-end mortgage services and solutions. Maria is an industry veteran in the fintech and compliance workspace, in that world, with more than 20 years experience that honestly very few in the mortgage banking space have. So back in 2021, Maria was asked to step into Cloudvirga, serving as the Chief Legal and Compliance Officer and CFO. And prior to Cloudvirga, Maria served as Chief Legal Officer and General Counsel for impressive firms like StateBridge, Lender Live, Covius, Clayton, where she also served as Director of Structured Transactions. So now, well, all that's absolutely impressive. What I love most is that Maria, you hold your Juris Doctorate from University of Denver Stern College of Law. You have an MBA from University of Denver Daniels College of Business, and have a BA in Economics and Business with distinction from Colorado College. Obviously, me being in Denver, couldn't be more proud and excited to have you on the call. You're a Housing Wire Award winner and also voted one of the most powerful women in fintech. So, Maria, we're absolutely honored to have you here today. Needless to say, miss having you here in Denver, but understandably, duty calls with Cloudvirga, have you in Southern California. But I knew I had to get you in this Shark Cage, as you're on panels everywhere these days, helping lenders not only make sense of innovation, but you're sharing ideas and strategies with lenders on how to get more business by ensuring they're using the right tools. And your preferred partner, and all the more reason I really wanted people to hear a little bit more about you and your story. So, welcome, Maria. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction. I'm glad to be here, and I do miss Denver. If I'm being honest, you know.
Maybe we'll get you back one of these days.
Yes, I do come back quite a bit. Yes.
Well, keep me posted definitely when you're in town. So we'll get together for drink or lunch. But today I want to talk and delve a little bit into the state of the point of sale market. Let's talk about the overall point of sale market and all the different platforms in the space. I don't know. It seems like 10 plus years ago, I don't know, there was this onslaught of all these point of sale platforms like Blend and Flowify and Simple Nexus and obviously Cloudvirga. I saw their onslaught, and their name certainly caught my ear because it was abstract. But they all came running into the space to really help lenders do a better job of stopping the consumer from shopping, right? That's our goal as a organization, is stop the shop with the consumer, and you got to have the best cutting edge point of sale platform. So they were all working to provide a better, faster customer experience. And at the same time, there's some pretty distinct differentiating factors between them. But now that market has really matured, can you help us really understand kind of what the point of sale market looks like today? Kind of give us your perspective on where the dust is settled?
So there's been a lot of homogenization in the space because, as you noted, it's a mature space. However, the market is shifting, right? And client demands continue to change.
Right.
And the success, I think, of any point of sale system really comes down to the versatility, its ability to shift with the market demand, and kind of forward thinking. I think the players that are in the space today have focused on different fulfilling different needs, right? For example, there's somebody that's very strong in the mobile aspect. There's somebody that's gone into different products. There's another provider that supplements their services with people and actually has a capital arm. So they're really all very different. And I've actually heard a client say that they don't feel that any one point of sale provider, and I'm being very candid here, really fits the demand of the market. And as you know, 100%, which is, it's fair, right? Because it's still an evolving industry. And there's also this shift in the point of sale space because of the market not doing very well, right? Some
No.
providers are exiting or have been acquired. So there's some viability concerns. And while the market is down and some people think it's not a good time to invest in technology, I think we'd argue the opposite because we actually have time to be thoughtful about what we're doing with technology. And now is the time and invest in it when you have time and thought
Yeah.
availability, right? And then there's also the shift with smaller lenders, right, that realize their LOS is no longer working for them, or larger ones. And I know we'll probably talk about LOSs more, but they not every POS is created equal because they're not built by mortgage experts. So really kind of honing in on the lender's needs and workflows, their future planning is important. And also there's an emerging area in wholesale lending, right, which is an area that we've tried to capture because what do solutions look like when they're catered just to brokers?
Mm.
And it's very different than the retail space as we've found. And even though we've developed a TPO solution, we're still conducting further market research to make sure that it captures really what the needs of the market are.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's tremendous. I love what you said. Not all point of sales are created equal. I think that's just brilliant commentary there. Because we all do assume that they're all offering the same thing at this point. And I think you pulled on a interesting thread there. There, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but there is one vendor that I know is heavily invested by a particular company, and that investment demands that the software bends more to their requirements than the general market requirements. And so
That's
I, I
right.
think I think to your point that there's a lot of specialization that's come out of this maturity process.
That's right.
They're meeting the initial client needs, but then they've all started their own specialization. And that's what a lender really needs to start to vet out
That's
based
right.
on what their
Hmm.
requirements are.
And that's right. There's no, as you know, after, by the way, I've been in the industry 25 years. So I didn't want to correct you. As you know, there's no standardization in our industry, right? That's the challenge. And that's why technological tools have been so hard to implement, because there is no really out of the box process. Everybody's got a different workflow and needs, right?
And they think that's their secret sauce. And
That's
the
right.
fact is that it may be what they think is their secret sauce, but is it ideal for the consumer experience?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right.
And so it needs to be a little bit of a self-awareness around this is our secret sauce, but really, maybe we'll get into that here, in my next question. Actually, we'll just transition into that now. But so when we are considering the landscape, what do lenders need to be paying the most attention to or start looking for in their point of sale, to make sure that they have it in their own tech stack? Is it specific features or functionality or certain capabilities? Is it prod dev roadmaps that they should be looking at within the vendors that they work with, or integration capabilities? Is there something that should be triggering them to say, I really need to be looking at adopting a new point of sale platform, or doing an analysis of my current platform? In other words, I guess to sum all those words up is, are there changes taking place in consumer behavior that lenders really need to be thinking about, and how they're going to meet the need from a point of sale standpoint?
I think I'll address the latter question first, because I think
Sure.
it's critically important, and then kind of go into the first part of your question. One thing that is very, very important to think about for the point of sale is really focusing on the borrower experience and obviously at the LO experience. But I think that was the original concept for some of them. Some of the point of sales was the LO experience, right? And for others, it was the borrower experience. But this next generation of home buyers is going to be very digitally focused, and yet likely not as educated on the home buying process, right? We know that financial literacy is an issue in our country, and educating home buyers along the way and really creating almost kind of presenting products to them that fit their needs, right? And explaining the types of products. That's really what technology should be able to do in conjunction with the LO, right? And more than just capturing a lead, actually educating the borrower and thinking about keeping a borrower for life, right? If that's the long-term intent of the lender. So I think that's very important to capture in the point of sale system beginning early on. And we actually have tools in our system that kind of explain all the different components of what a borrower is about to do, even on the IRLA, right? Which itself is a complicated process. So addressing the first part of your question, what should lenders be looking for? I mean, going back to kind of the first question, about the state of the point of sale market, it's the viability of your partner. Are they going to be around? I think that's a very important question. What is the background of the point of sale provider? Are they mortgage people or tech people? Combination of both. I think that's also important to consider. Are you getting what you need from them? Meaning, can they change with you as your needs change? Let's say you want to offer different products, or thinking of entering wholesale. Is your point of sale provider going to be able to pivot, or are they going to kind of stay the same and not change? What does the roadmap look like? I mean, I know you referenced that. Is it appropriately forward thinking? Is it capturing some of this AI, ML in terms of financial literacy, right? Kind of working with the borrower in terms of matching them with correct products. And then I think I'm going to pause. Sorry.
No problem.
Um, Supported integrations are very, very important. I've heard that that's actually a weakness for some of the point of sale providers because, as we know, our industry is very. There are a lot of players in the industry that offer, and they're entering every day with really important and I'd say necessary products
Sure.
that are part of the mortgage ecosystem. So, how quickly can your point of sale provider integrate with those and offer
Mm,
that as a solution, right? And one thing that we've done particularly well, I think, is integrating with some of our parent companies, additional products that they offer, as well as other players in the space, right? We're very vendor agnostic from that perspective. Um, so I think those are the things to look at.
oh,
Hopefully I didn't miss
I think
anything.
those are just absolutely brilliant points. And I really like how you
Mm,
tied back point of sale to that consumer education. You know, I've long been a proponent of Mortgage 101 and it should be required, you know, high school
agreed.
course.
Agreed.
But
Yes.
I only have so much time in the day. But I really like the idea of because as salespeople in mortgage, we know people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And how do you build that trust? There's no better way than to build trust through education, by educating and coaching consumers through that process. And what I think loan officers miss the mark on a lot of times, and sometimes middle management or sales management can be blamed for this, is that they're not taking the time to educate the consumer on this lending process. And they don't always have the tools, and that's where you guys are very unique, is providing those tools to help educate the consumer as they go through the loan process. So I think
That's right.
that's really invaluable advice, and that'll help keep their customer acquisition costs down, right? Because the loan officer will come, or the consumer will come back to that loan officer based on
Mhm.
that initial experience, and that's
That's right.
underrated at this point.
Yeah, and one point I forgot to make, Keith, is about capturing, the data. I heard in one of your other podcasts, which I did not know, was that we have the most data points of any industry, which I thought was fascinating. And harnessing that data really, the point of sale provider should really be the kind of the funnel for all of that key information, and obviously in compliance with all data privacy regulations, right? But using that information as a benefit to the consumer, right? In terms of, again, that journey of customer for life, kind of monitoring their activity and helping the lender to be able to fit their needs, right?
I love that. And
Mhm.
you know, I harken back to another engagement that I had. It was about a 4-year engagement helping a lender or a bank, a large Midwest regional bank, reconstruct their entire consumer experience around home lending. And one of the key phrases was, let's make sure that the borrower is always in the right loan. And as a bank, they would either, you know, based on the channel they entered the bank, either they were only sold a HELOC or they were sold a mortgage. It was never, you know what, we think that a HELOC is probably best as opposed to the mortgage based on these factors. They were operating in their own silo, and they didn't
That's right.
leverage that data in order to
Mhm.
really put the customer in the best possible loan. So community banks, lesson for community banks and credit unions, that technology actually
Mhm.
allows you to do more for your consumer and
Yes.
protect your consumer. And we need to
Yes.
leverage that data at point of sale. So
Absolutely. Couldn't agree
You
more.
know, and I think we could probably talk for another, maybe we'll make that another podcast talking about the integration of those data points into CRMs, right? So that your
Yes.
CRM is speaking to your point of sale and you're not having to ask the customer again, you know, what's
That's
your
right.
address? I already do business
Exactly.
with your bank.
Right, and that's where all the AI and ML tools come into play, right? All that data is already available. So save the
Exactly. Oh, I
consumer
love it.
time entering the data, right? Hmm.
And now I build a stronger customer experience. So, oh
Hmm.
boy, I look forward to our next podcast. But let me jump into our next question. The question that's kind of near and dear to my heart because we work with lenders all over the country on implementing and helping them select and then implement technology. So let's put the hat of the lender on and at the executive level, if you will. when they think about the plausibility of taking on a new point of sale, prior to this question, we were really talking about, how's the market changed in state of point of sale? And then we've talked about, what should they be looking for in a new point of sale? Now let's talk a little bit more about, the plausibility of going out and selecting and then implementing a new point of sale to either bolt on or unplug what they have or plug into their new point of sale, plug in a new point of sale like Cloudvirga into their existing tech stack. So they immediately think of at the executive level, what are some of the challenges or concerns? Some lenders of executive teams have said, Keith, it's like a horror show trying to, implement these new systems upstream and downstream and across the organization. So I know because like I said, we're constantly talking to clients about these implementations. So what is your team doing to help mortgage lenders understand, or how do you help them do the ROI math around the justification for the exercise across the board to implement a new system?
Yeah, that's always a struggle in our industry, right? Kind of going back to technology. I think that because there's a lack of standardization, and there's all this compliance, right, that it becomes harder than it should be. But I think the key is gathering the client's needs up front, right? Because no matter what, we know there's going to be a level of customization. There is no just bolt on point of sale. Perhaps there is, but I doubt that it actually meets all the needs that the lender has.
Going back to that secret sauce
Mhm.
earlier, right?
Right. So very important is how you deploy your workflows, what business rules you use and how you structure them. Who are your third-party partners, right? And the list goes on. So it's very important to be invested in the mutual discovery in the beginning, the requirements gathering, the future needs, because that is where it all begins, and really having a working with a partner, right? Thinking of this as a partnership as opposed to this is a QuickBooks purchase that I bought out of a box, right? It's just not going to be like that. And I think that's a philosophical shift that we have yet to make in some instances, right? Um, and it doesn't have to be scary. The risk of doing it shouldn't outweigh the improvement you're going to see for your end users, right? And that's what people don't want. They're afraid to invest in. Not everybody. I'm not saying, but I've just seen it over the years, right?
Yeah.
But when they finally do finish the implementation, that's where the rewards come in, right? And because it makes the process easier. So very important to look at elements of efficiency, effectiveness, adoption, right? Your loan officers aren't going to be in an archaic, sorry to say, LOS, where the process is just more efficient. I mean, those are behemoth systems that cannot adapt to today's needs, right? The value of a POS really should be meeting today's consumer needs and LO needs, right?
Yeah.
So and going back to the partnership, right? What does the structure of the agreement look like? Can you update your roadmap? Are they growing with you? Those are very intangible factors, but very important to consider as part of the partnership.
That's a great point. A lot of people, they're heads down looking at feature and functionality. Can you do
Right.
mobile?
Yes.
But
Yes.
can you, it's not just mobile. What else is coming ahead with mobile on the product
Yes.
development roadmap? And I was actually going to mention this earlier, and you just reminded me. In our industry, we are so guilty of thinking transactionally.
Yes. That's right.
We
That's absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
and having been an originator, and it was exhausting for years to be on that 30-day treadmill and then it translates to when you get, go into sales management, and then when you get into regional management, and then, become an executive running, hundreds of salespeople nationwide. you just keep heads down looking at everything from a transactional basis, and as opposed to really thinking strategically. So there is a paradigm
Absolutely
shift
right.
for
Hmm.
some executives in this industry, especially when the industry starts coming a roaring back and we start promoting people. They have a responsibility to make a paradigm shift and start looking strategically at their technology and in their point of sale customer experience. So sorry, I could go on
That
that
no, that's
soapbox
absolutely
with you.
right. That's absolutely right. I think that's the most important shift that has to happen in our industry. It is that because technology is advancing much faster than our industry has kept up with.
Well
Right?
said. Amen
Yeah.
to that one.
Mhm.
And that might be where we pick up our conversation next time, is on the AI and machine learning side of things, because
Sounds
love to
good.
get more of your perspective on that. And I know
Yes.
you'll be speaking on a panel about that next week. So
Yes.
hopefully folks are able to make it to the Innovators Conference out in California. But Maria, this has been absolutely enlightening. I cannot thank you enough for taking some time out of your busy schedule to jump on the podcast with us and jump in the shark cage. I generally try not to go beyond 3 questions, because any time anybody's in the shark cage for longer than 3 questions, they start to get bit. A little sarcasm, but this has really been great. And I know, as a preferred partner, Andrew and Mike in our technology consulting practice, they've raved about you guys and all that you guys are doing. And now I can say I feel a little more caught up and on making sure that I have the right perspective when thinking about the point of sale space. And I think our listeners will have greatly benefited from this conversation as well. So folks, don't hesitate to learn all about what Cloudvirga is doing, how they're helping lenders, how they're taking that more strategic long-term approach with their clients, and to make sure that they're driving a better consumer, you're driving a better consumer experience. Check out their website at www.cloudvirga.com, and or reach out to Maria directly. Her and her team are just always
Please.
approachable and happy to dialogue on these things. But Maria, thank you so much for being on the call with us today and joining me in the shark cage.
Thank you so much for having me, Keith. I really enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate it.
Likewise. Until next time, this has been another exciting episode in the Shark Cage.
Thank you for joining us in the Shark Cage. To be a guest on a future episode, send an email to info@blackfin-group.com. To find out more about the show or the information provided in this episode, visit BlackFin Group online at www.blackfin-group.com.